About 8 years ago, I was really into healing. I wasn't trying to heal from a breakup. I wasn't trying to shift my relationship. I was trying to feel better while in a bad relationship. At the time, I didn't know how bad it was. I actually didn't know it was toxic. I was just trying to feel okay about what was going on. I was with someone who was very emotionally unavailable. And so I consistently felt lonely. I felt unloved. I didn't feel very chosen or like this person really actually wanted to be with me. So I was trying to heal from all of that stuff. I thought that if I could love myself enough, if I could heal enough of the wounds from my past, that what was going on in the relationship wouldn't actually bother me. Like, I thought I could just deal with it. That was why I was healing. I was trying to be okay with all of this stuff that was going on in the relationship, with not feeling loved, with not feeling chosen. I truly thought that healing would help me to better tolerate my relationship. I thought that if I loved myself enough that I wouldn't need very much from my partner, because he wasn't very loving, he wasn't very affectionate. My love language was words of affirmation, and he wasn't giving me a lot of those either. But I thought, all right, if I just heal myself enough, if I focus on loving myself enough, then I can just be okay with not getting very much in my relationship. So I went into my healing journey trying to be okay with that, with basically not getting my needs met. And I know that I am not alone in this experience. I talk to so many people who have the same idea. Like, if they just heal, if they just become awakened enough or enlightened, that then they can just tolerate the crappy situations that they're in. Let me know in the comments if this is you. So if this is you, if you can relate to this, just know that I get it. You are not alone in this. But the reason I'm sharing this story with you today is something interesting happened as I really healed and as I really loved myself. The more I healed, the more love that I had for myself, the less I was actually able to tolerate this bad relationship that I was in. One would not think that a healing journey, or especially a journey of spiritual awakening, where your goal is to accept things, to be at peace with things, one would think that if you went on that journey, then you would be able to tolerate whatever is going on. But that's not what happened for me. The more I healed, the more I saw how just plain incompatible the two of us were. The more I realized that, you know what, I don't have to stay in this situation and not feel loved and not get any of my most basic needs met. It was like I had this massive realization, like, wait a minute, what am I doing here? I can find someone else that can love me in the way that feels good to me. What am I doing here? So that's what actually happened. I went in thinking that I was going to feel better in this relationship, but the more I healed, the more I released, the more of my subconscious that I rewired, the more that I saw how bad things actually were. I realized that I didn't have to stay in this situation where I didn't feel fully loved. I realized that I deserved so much more than that. So I eventually left. It did take me a while. It wasn't an instant thing, but I did realize that I simply couldn't stay in this situation anymore. And I knew deep down that there was more out there, that there was a better relationship for me. And there was. I was right. I'm living it now. This is what I'm experiencing now. It's so much better. So I share this story because what healing almost always means is that we have to change our lives. And I know that that is not what a lot of us want to hear. I know me back in the day, I didn't want to hear that. I just wanted things to stay the same. I wanted to be the one that fully and completely transformed and changed while nothing outside of me had to change. But it doesn't work like that. When we are changing and healing so massively on an internal level, we can't help but have things change on the external. Because like me, maybe you are doing your own healing and you're realizing that this relationship that you're in it's just not enough for you anymore. Maybe it was in the past, maybe it was painful, but you could still tolerate it. But the more that you love yourself, the more it's like you're actually repelled from these bad situations. And it's almost like we are sometimes forced to change. That's what it felt like for me. When I made the realization that I couldn't stay anymore, it didn't feel like this was happening like, oh, let me just decide to leave. No, it almost felt like my soul, or whatever you want to call it, was like, look at this, Lindsay. You cannot pretend that you don't see what is going on here anymore. It does almost feel like you're being forced to make a change. You're not really being forced. It's really your inner, you could call it your inner wise self that is saying, hey, it's going to be so much better over here. Look how bad it is here. I know you see it. Let's not pretend anymore that this isn't happening. Let's make this choice over here. But this choice is rarely comfortable. And this is what stops a lot of us from truly healing, because we don't want to have to change our lives. Change is scary. Our brains are actually wired to not want to change. We're very comfortable in our patterns. It's actually a survival strategy. But we have evolved to be more than just survival beings. And so what healing calls us to do is to make these big changes. And it's hard. This was my marriage that I was in. And so what this change asked of me was to get divorced. And if you guys are out there and you've gone through divorce, or you're going through it now, you know that that is one of the hardest things to go through. It is not easy. And so if you're going through that, I feel you. It's tough. So again, if you're feeling some resistance to this change that healing is asking of you, know that that's normal. There's nothing wrong with you. This is how we're wired. And maybe you were like me, where you love your partner so much that the thought of leaving, it doesn't even cross your mind for a very long time. That's how it was for me. That's why I was doing all that healing. I didn't even think about leaving in the beginning. I just wanted to feel better and be able to better handle the neglect that I was experiencing in my relationship. Like, we're doing all this healing to be okay with the little love that we're getting. Let me know if this is you in the comments too. I'd love to hear from you guys. So the reason I'm making this video, the whole point of this video, is to let you know that if you are going into healing for the purpose of trying to make a bad relationship be okay, to have yourself be okay with a bad relationship, it's not going to work. Now, I'm not talking about when there's a situation where both of you are healing and you're both doing your own work and maybe you're doing couples therapy together. Then there's hope for change. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a situation where your partner is not doing anything, nothing is changing on his end, and you are trying to do all the work yourself to make that relationship work. It won't work. In order for a relationship to be healthy, both people have to be contributing to that dynamic. One person cannot do all the healing alone. Let me know if you've tried. I want to really hear from you guys this time in this video. What has your experience been with something like this? Have you tried to heal the relationship for both of you? Have you tried to do all the work yourself to better tolerate a crappy situation? If you're really, truly doing the healing work and loving yourself, you will not be able to stay in that relationship. It will actually become intolerable. It actually starts to feel kind of crazy. Like, you almost feel crazy. Like, what am I doing here? I'm awesome. I'm amazing. I love myself so much. I deserve so much more love. Why am I still here? We realize that we truly are so lovable. And we don't have to be okay with a situation where we're not receiving that love in return. We know that there's tons of people out there who could give us this love, and that's what happens when you truly heal and love yourself. One of the hallmarks of a healthy relationship is that both people are doing their healing work. Both people are putting in effort to make a relationship work. And if you are the only one, I'm telling this to myself, this message is for me 8 to 10 years ago. Lindsay, if you are the only one doing the work in this relationship, it's not going to work. It's not healthy for you. And so take my message to my past self for you all today, and just know, yeah, if you're going into healing trying to tolerate an unhealthy relationship, it won't work. Let me save you all the work and all the time and all the effort. Just don't do it. Now, I don't want this to discourage you from doing your own healing, because it is absolutely worth it. Just know that you doing your own healing isn't going to necessarily make a bad relationship tolerable, but it's still worth it. It's still worth it to do your own healing work, because it actually will propel you out of bad situations. It'll make it a lot easier to leave. Even though it's still hard, it makes it that much easier because you know that you deserve more than what you're experiencing. There's something that happens in bad relationships, and this is called a trauma bond. So I have a video here that you can check out that will help you to break out of a trauma bond in record time. Also, click here to subscribe. I come out with new videos every single week to help you break the cycle of bad relationships and find real love.